everyone. Welcome to Greatness Valley Lifestyle and Prayer Cafe, where faith meets lifestyle. In part 1.6, we saw where Mrs. Potiphar was harassing Joseph daily. Anyway, Joseph continued to do his work, and lo and behold, Mrs. Potiphar grabbed Joseph and told him to sleep with her, basically. But Joseph twisted himself out of his tunic and ran out of that house with the speed of Usain Bolt. Run, Joseph, run. Mrs. Potiphar's hand was all stretched out holding Joseph's tunic. Joseph was out. After leaving her standing with nothing but a piece of cloth in her hand, she decided to get even more vindictive. What did she do? She screamed so loud that all the men, all the other servants who were outside came running to her aid. Of course, she put on the fake crying and told them that Joseph attacked her physically, and he only ran because she screamed for help. Well, she put on her drama costumes for her husband, Potiphar, as soon as he got home, and she played the poor wife who was attacked by this Hebrew slave. Now, Potiphar knew that she was lying. So what did he do? Potiphar put Joseph in jail for an indefinite period of time. Some call it an unstated life sentence. There was no bail, and Potiphar would not be able to speak up publicly for Joseph, who was just a slave, because he would have to go against his wife publicly, and she had very high status in Egypt. So, how many people do you think are in jail right now for a crime they did not commit? Just because the accuser lied. Just because of prejudice and power. And let's not forget the corrupt justice systems in our world. Oh, dare I say, in our countries. Like Joseph, have you ever been in that situation? Think for a moment. Have you ever worked somewhere and your boss harassed you? Or someone in a higher position who may not have been your immediate boss, but again, power, authority, and they use that? We call it abuse of power and all of that. And they may have even caused you to lose your job. Comment in the chat if you or someone you know ever experienced this. This is a very common practice in so many places. Some people have been physically assaulted in the workplace and blackmailed to stay silent. Some have been assaulted by even pastors who are predators in churches. Some are assaulted in their own homes by their relatives, wives, husbands, children, or even strangers. So many students have been assaulted on their school campuses. And the list goes on and on. In many cases, the victims are punished while the perpetrators are walking around rejoicing that they are untouchable. They run the world. They rule everything. But God, who sees all things, He has a time, a place, and to take vengeance on your behalf. Don't return evil to those who do evil to you. Remember that God is working out your situation, even if it looks grim, even if it looks like no one cares and no one sees. Keep on praying and put your trust in God. He knows, and no one will escape, because God is still the just judge, and He will defend you. Now, I want you to really think about the trauma that Joseph is experiencing at this point. Joseph is not made of steel. He's definitely a real person, just like you, just like me. He is away from home, no family or friends. He saw and heard the voices of hatred from his older brothers as they dragged him to sell him to a group of strangers heading to another country. He grew up a free child, and now he has to adapt to a life as a slave. Then working as a slave, minding his own business, doing the best that he can do, refusing to sleep with his boss's wife landed him in jail. Is there anyone wondering how does this even make sense? Think about what Joseph would have thought of his situation, because he definitely had some time to think, like, what's happening here? I was just doing my job, and now I'm in jail for something I did not do. What do you think is going on in Joseph's mind? How would you feel in this situation at this specific moment? Comment in the chat. The strange thing about this is that the Bible says God was with Joseph. So, for those of you who are wondering, where is God when you're going through troubles and trials and tribulations and abuse and harassment? Remember this. Remember this. God is still with you. Suffering is not a sign that God hates you, or that God is punishing you, or that God thinks less of you. No, no, no. That is a lie from the devil. God is with you in the good times and the bad. He said it, and He cannot lie. I will never leave you nor forsake you. God Himself cannot lie. So Joseph, in all of this, remained silent. Yes, he was suffering in silence. How many people do you know right now who are suffering in silence? But he was still able to carry out daily functions. So what's really going on here? Joseph was grieving like so many people who are functional grievers. Are you hearing me? So they grieve and do what they can each day, because being useful and focusing on helping others is more therapeutic than you think. So while in jail, Joseph followed the rules, yes, and tried to help where he could, to the point where, what's the usual pattern? Joseph was promoted in jail. Now, okay, right, I'm sure he would have preferred to be promoted outside of jail, but it's still a step in the right direction, yes? He was promoted in jail to help the other prisoners. Again, the jailer, as the Bible referred to this person, saw something in Joseph. The same thing Potiphar saw in Joseph. And so when you are a person of excellence, it will show. Some people may want to keep you down out of envy and jealousy, like the brothers, but God will reveal who you are in terms of your integrity, in terms of who He called you to be, to the people who need to know. Okay? Joseph was promoted in jail. So all of this may seem like an overload, but psychologically, this was therapy for Joseph. God provided therapy for Joseph in jail. Are you hearing me? God provided therapy for Joseph while he was in jail. He was grieving in silence. Yes. Internally, yes. And so God is saying, I cannot let you sit here idly with all of the trauma locked up inside of you. And so He would have given him that heart to reach out to others, to look outside of himself, look beyond himself, not to skip over the grief, not to deny that he was in pain. It wasn't about denial. Because to be left alone in silence, all by yourself, that alone is enough to drive you crazy if you're just left with your thoughts and no one around you who believes that you're innocent and can post the bail. The justice system is clearly corrupt. Even if there was a 10-week trial, he would still be guilty because Mrs. Potiphar's status calls for someone to pay, even though her husband knew she was lying. I'd like to see some lawyers commenting in the chat. How many people are in jail now that you know that something other than the truth was told? Think about that. Find out what happens next in part 1.8. Through guided lessons, practical exercises, and supportive resources, you'll learn how to process your emotions, let go of the past, and rise stronger than ever before. No matter how deep the hurt, there's always a way to heal. Join me on this journey of transformation, and together we can turn your pain into power. Sign up today. greatnessvalleylifestyle.com has the resources you need for a brighter tomorrow. The healing journey begins with you. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tips and inspiration on your path to healing. We want to thank our wonderful sponsor, Lily Love Notebooks. That's LILYLUV Notebooks. And this is for our prayer journal. Thank you so very much. We have these wonderful prayer journals that are absolutely amazing, prompted, and filled with just lots and lots of pages for daily intercessory prayer for churches, families, those who are sick, reflection notes, answers to prayers, and so much more. This prayer journal is what we're using in all of our series. And so we want to thank Lily Love, and you can find this wonderful prayer journal at Amazon.com. You can find the link in the description. Once again, thank you so very much for sharing this wonderful prayer journal with us. We want to remind you that we have resources to help you navigate through grief. We have a practical guide, How to Step Out of Grief and Bloom. This is for anyone and everyone, whether you're grieving or not. It will prepare you for that time or to help someone who is. This is packed with stories of those who went through grief, the various stages in grief, biblical text that helps you to navigate in terms of God's divine providence and how He sees you and the fact that He is with you. So it really helps you in the day-to-day moments to understand what's happening to you or what is going to happen to you, so you can be proactive and understand it even before it happens. And we also have the grief journal, How to Step Out of Grief and Bloom, same name or title as the practical guide. And this is a prompted journal. That means it has all the prompts. It tells you what to do. It asks the questions. It reminds you of all the different activities that you can do, and it gives you examples. It gives you pages so that you can write. It gives you different activities. You can write letters and all of the different things that you need to do to help you as you walk through grief. I assure you, you will not regret having these resources. Check them out on Amazon.com, and the link will also be in the description of this video. Have a wonderful day.